There's a comment that I get on a lot of my videos whenever I talk about the state of healing in World of Warcraft, of people wanting healers to only heal and never do damage, and when given clarification, it's always that they only ever want to heal, like no free time for damage or very little time for damage. And with the War Within coming, with its healing changes, the drastic healing changes of Dragonflight, and even Final Fantasy XIV also dealing with its own healer problems, I wanted to provide some perspective with healing designs and why it can be so difficult to find a good balance. My name is BowserTheHealer. In case you aren't aware, I've played a lot of healer and support in many different games, from of course Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft, but also games like Overwatch and League of Legends, Pokemon Unite, etc. I've done this for a long while, and I really want to talk shop, so if you like healing content, World of Warcraft, or just me talking, hey, get subscribed, it means a lot to me. Also, real quick, and this isn't a sponsored segment, I'm also nominated for the MMO Awards hosted by Liquid's Aya. If you want to vote for me, head to the link I have down in the description and write my name in as BowserTheHealer. I'm up for the awards of Sprout and Valkyrie. Thank you all so much for the support. The issue with healing in a game is that you want to keep people alive as they do things. Healer being easy back in the days of vanilla WoW was a good thing because it got players into the game. This isn't a big issue when this is a brand new MMO that just came out, it's young in its gameplay development. What happens is that those players get better, and this can mean healing becomes too easy, and then the player wants to find something more engaging, ultimately taking them away from healing. As the years went on, Blizzard definitely continued to make healing more interesting, with more moves that connect to each other better, allowing for combos and procs and decision making, which makes for good engaging gameplay. But in order to make moves feel good, they can't also be super powerful as maybe they were back in the day. Why would you use all these fancy moves when you could just press flash heal and get the job done? So healing needs to be made hard enough that players find a need to use their buttons, either in the form of a lot of instances of damage that need to be healed back to back, or special profiles of damage that maybe make certain options in your healing kit more useful than others. But there is an issue here with this design, and it's genuinely a skill issue. If the content is made to be engaging for healers and that it's difficult, you will have an issue where players who are new will struggle. Maybe the tank is also struggling too, depending on how good they are at staying alive on their own. But DPS, while you can get extremely good at DPS, it only ever changes the time it takes to clear a boss or a pack of mobs. So a DPS can go into harder content, and so long as they survive, they can do their job. But if a healer goes in and the content is too hard, people might start dying, which makes everyone feel terrible. But all of you know how pugging goes. Does anyone do it perfectly? No. And thus, if the dungeon is hard to heal, and players can make mistakes on top of that, you end up with an extremely hard gameplay scenario that most players won't want to deal with unless they are extremely good at healer. This is actually what happened in Dragonflight Season 2, the 20% nerf to healing I like to call it, where health and damage went up by 20%, but healing didn't change. This made bursty encounters do way too much damage, and healing it required you to be very skilled with your healer, and even if you were, it can sometimes take a lot of time. Healers who are using more basic tools, maybe they were new to the game, or maybe they're just not a hardcore player, they're struggling to keep up even in lower key levels and easier forms of content, and not only would they struggle to keep people alive, they would also likely run out of mana, and this can add a lot of stress to a dungeon. People quit the game over this. I made a video about it in Season 2. Players were really upset with the state of healing. Go check the comment section of that sometime. So what does the other end of the issue look like? If it's a slippery slope and a two-way one at that, what does the other extreme look like? Final Fantasy XIV. Now, before I get mauled for saying this, I do love 14. It's a fun game with a lovely community, and honestly with friends, it is such a joy. But gameplay-wise, I tend to avoid healer. I still play it, but it can be extremely boring. Healers are way too strong. Most moves that are AoE, that hit the whole party, don't have a fall off. They hit the entire party, right? All 8 players with relative ease, and a lot of them are heavy in potency. And not only are they heavy in potency, they also end up being instant casts or even just off the global cooldown. Imagine having a monk revival on a 30 to 60 second cooldown in a heroic dungeon or a mythic 0. And because I'm gonna talk about damage, you wanna know what happens when I'm not healing? I'm pressing one damage button and one dot. Yes, at the start of a fight, I'll maybe press my 2-minute, line it up with my teammates, and we'll blow things up. But look at this. This is what we do. I put my 1 dot on the target, and then I hit broil 4. That's it. That's all I ever do. Now, this is the point of the video where if somebody comments, healers should never do damage, I'm going to point them back here and tell them they didn't watch the video. Because healers do damage as a byproduct of good balance. We already established why having your game have too much healing will hurt the newer players' experience or the players that are less skilled at the game. Perfect play is bound to happen, especially by good groups, so there is a chance that the healer has a lot less to do if we factor in player mistakes as part of potential difficulty. When a healer heals efficiently, players play perfect or both, you end up with free time. This is a good thing because it allows the skill gap that makes room for beginners all the way to masters. If a healer is learning, maybe not playing very efficiently, they can still keep people up at certain difficulty thresholds. Maybe they need more mana or need to dip into bigger buttons that are normally reserved for emergencies or big mechanics. But that's okay, they made it. A master of the game might have little healing to do, especially if their team isn't taking a lot of damage. But if there isn't a lot for them to do, or there was a lot for them to do and they did it efficiently, this means they can contribute more to damage. They have free time to do what they want. And as long as the damage that they're doing isn't super boring, it should be rewarding to get to the point where everyone is okay and you're helping them take down the pack or the boss quicker. So when I suggest that healers do more damage in these openings that they get, that doesn't mean take away from the healing they must do or have to do depending on their teammates. That means let them feel the reward even more so. Have it feel really good when they're playing well and get those openings. And in this lovely world of Warcraft, we have infinite scaling with difficulty in Mythic Plus. So if there isn't this flexible room for gear score and skill, a game where we only heal turns into something either impossibly hard as the difficulty goes up way too early on in your Mythic Plus journey, or it's so easy the healers have nothing to do until super high levels, to which then they're gonna have nothing to do, so they'll do damage. And then we're back to casting Broil 4. I don't know if War Within's balance will be good, and I know that the 14 dungeons are a bit harder this expansion from what I'm being told, but this healing thing is tough. Making it too easy makes people not want to play, too hard, and the barrier to entry is massive. I like to think about Mercy in Overwatch, a character who holds down the left mouse button to heal someone over time rather quickly. It would be so boring if that's all she did, but she can also damage amp. She can pull out the blicky and do it herself. She can fly around and use her movement to stay in intense combat while keeping up the heals. Skill expression can make something that sounds boring be super fun. And I think in order to keep healing interesting in these massively multiplayer online games, you need that skill expression. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down below. I'll see you in the next one.